What happens when someone you trust at work makes you question yourself? Maybe a leader repeatedly undermines your credibility. A colleague takes credit for your ideas. Or an executive makes promises behind closed doors, then denies them when the stakes get high. That's betrayal. And the damage doesn't always end with what the person did. You may start questioning your judgment, your competence, even whether it's safe to speak up. Here's what I want you to know. What happened may have shaken your confidence, but it does not get to define your future. Today I'm speaking with Dr. Debi Silber about how betrayal affects self-trust and what it takes to begin rebuilding it. Stay with me until the end, because I give you 5 practical steps you can take if workplace betrayal has affected your confidence, your reputation, or your career. And listen for your chance to help shape the future of this podcast. When you complete our listener survey, you can enter a drawing to win a private coaching session with me or a copy of my soon-to-be-published book, Leading Before You're Ready. This conversation is for educational purposes and is not a substitute for individualized medical or mental health care.
Welcome to Women's Leadership Podcast, showing you how to influence people, improve your performance, and advance your career. Brought to you by women's leadership and career expert Sabrina Braham and womensleadershipsuccess.com. Here's your chance to meet women trendsetters leading the way to success, accomplishment, and balance in business and life. No matter if you're a manager, CEO, or entrepreneur, join Sabrina for coaching and no-nonsense advice to improve your career and bottom line.
Hey, I'm really excited to have you on the show today, Debi.
Excited to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks. I was really interested in talking to you because I don't hear people talking about betrayal a lot. I hear them saying things like somebody said something bad to them, or this horrible thing happened, or the person said bad things about them, or the company didn't treat them right. And what is betrayal? Can you give us a definition of that?
Sure. Well, I define it as the breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule. And every relationship has them. And the way it works is the more we trust the person and the more we depend on them, the deeper the betrayal. So, for example, let's say a child who's completely dependent on their parent, the parent does something awful, that's going to have a different level of impact than, let's say, your coworker taking credit for your idea. Still a betrayal, but it's a different level of cleanup left in the wake.
Right. So why is it so important to name it?
It's important to name it because so often we think I must be overreacting. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it wasn't that bad. We justify, we minimize, we make excuses for something. And betrayal is one of the most painful of the human experiences when it gets super close, right? So when we know what we're working with, we can realize, oh, this is a very different experience. So first of all, just to get back to why betrayal is different, let's just take someone you love. Let's say you lose someone you love. You grieve, you're sad, you mourn the loss, life will never be the same. But you don't go back and question that relationship. It doesn't change your history with that person, right? You don't lose your ability to trust. With betrayal, you do. Also, when, let's say, you lose someone you love, people rally. Hey, what do you need? How can I help? With betrayal, so often there's so much shame, humiliation, embarrassment that the person betrayed struggles and suffers in silence. Let's say it's a relational betrayal. Also, it's very common where the betrayed takes the brunt because they're covering for the betrayer to their own detriment. So now imagine they've had the most painful experience and they're acting like it's a regular Tuesday, Mm-hmm. And also the difference is with, let's say, other traumas, there's a shattering of life as you've known it. And the invitation is to rebuild a life, let's say, without that person, for example. Mm-hmm. But with betrayal, what happens is not only is your life as you've known it shattered, the self is shattered. rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust. And people don't rebuild those things. So they try to rebuild their life. They don't rebuild the self. And that's yet another reason why betrayal is a very different experience.
And I wanted to tell you, I had a client, her name was Jen. I'm going to say it's Jenny. She was a director, and she had a vice president, also a woman. And every time she gave a presentation, the vice president said, "You did a terrible job," told her all the things she did wrong, eventually said, "I'll do them. We're not going to even have you do them anymore." This went on for years. She lost more and more confidence. She started feeling really bad about herself. And then she found out that other people did not have that impression of her, that this woman had been telling her things that were not true for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it took her a long time to overcome that, feeling inadequate, feeling lack of confidence. She stopped negotiating. She stopped advocating for herself. Can you talk about what that looks like in leadership?
It looks like, think about it. You don't, that loss of personal power, you don't trust your own judgment. You don't trust, you lose confidence. All of these things have been absolutely shattered. So if that's how and I just want to be clear, people have the best of intentions. They say, well, you know what, this happened, let's say outside of the workplace. I'll keep it outside of the workplace. It's impossible.
Right.
It's absolutely impossible. So let's say, for example, the shattering of confidence outside of the workplace. So now confidence was shattered. You come in. Here's a typical example. Let's say you want that raise or promotion. You deserve it, but your confidence was shattered in the betrayal, so you don't have the confidence to ask. You see, it translates that way. Or a loss of personal power. We don't trust our own judgment. We don't trust our own instincts. And I really want to talk about this trust piece because it's so huge. One of the biggest things people say after trust is shattered, well-meaning, well-intentioned coaches, therapists, they'll say, well, you need to learn how to trust again. And I wrote the book, Trust Again. I get the importance of it. Start with a low, like a low stakes thing. Start with trusting a friend. This is so tragically wrong, and here's why. When trust is, we have our own system that we create to discern trustworthiness, like whether someone says or does something, let's say 50 or 100 times, whatever our own system is, our own system that we create, they do or say something enough times, whatever it is, we say, you know what, I can trust that person. I deem them trustworthy. So now they betray that trust. As shattering as that is, because that was the person we trusted, that could have very likely been the person who gave us a sense of safety and security, and they're the one who took it away. What's even worse is we look and we say, my system that I've created to discern trustworthiness is fundamentally flawed. My compass is broken. I can't trust my own system. That's a terrifying thing to feel. So to trust in someone else, we have no business trusting in someone else. We don't even know, we can't even trust our choice for lunch, right? So that needs to be rebuilt. And so many people don't like the feeling of not trusting. So they either, after trust is shattered, they trust no one, or they just give that trust away thinking, well, let me just try again. But they don't rebuild that self-trust. So it's always shaky and unstable.
How do you begin to do that?
Yeah, well, at first there are different types of trust, and it's different levels and layers. Of course, trust in the person, that's last. That's the last thing. But in self-trust, it could start as simply as, it's really on two levels. It's trusting in your word. You really have to rebuild that because it gives you a sense of safety and security. So that could be as simple as, if I say I'm going to make that phone call, I do. I'm not going to do that one thing, and I don't. And what you are doing is you are teaching yourself, if I say something, I mean it. My word is gold. I can trust in my own word. The other thing is we have to rebuild trust in our intuition, in our wise, inner guide, whatever you want to call it. Let's say, a coworker, a boss, something feels off, something feels shady. And we say to ourselves, there must be an explanation for that. I must be imagining this. There must be a reason or a partner or whatever. And we're doing that because if we were to confront that boss, that coworker, that partner on what our intuition is telling us, everything we've created will likely unravel. And we make the decision, I don't have the emotional, the mental, maybe the financial bandwidth to take that on right now. It's almost like, when you have that thread hanging from the sweater and you're like, if I pull this thing, the whole thing may come down, and I'm going to make a decision to leave it as is. So a lot of people get so angry with themselves. How did I not see? Why did I not know? Something felt off. Betrayal is designed to be deceptive.
Mm-hmm. It seems like you lose your authenticity. You stop being yourself, right?
You very much can. You can. That's one of the beautiful things about rebuilding after betrayal. You deliberately and intentionally rebuild yourself. And what you're doing is you're taking all the parts you love and you're leaving behind everything that no longer serves. So to your point, you may say, was I settling? Was I not taking my own needs seriously? Was I not speaking up when I should have? That doesn't come along. Mm-hmm. Being compassionate, being a great listener, being like all the parts you love, they're coming right along. The other ones do not.
So how does somebody notice that they have that problem? Mm-hmm. What I've heard you say, because I've listened to some of your other talks, is that people don't realize they've got this problem.
Yeah.
So how does one begin to realize this is a problem that I have so that I can begin the recovery?
Yeah. Well, you can see it in your health, in your work, in your relationships. So for example, in relationships, we'll see an unhealed betrayal in one of two ways. So this is how you know if you're not healed. Repeat betrayals. The faces change, but it's the same thing. You keep going from friend to friend, boss to boss, partner to partner, same thing, unhealed. Mm-hmm. The other way is we put the big wall up and we say, that's it. No one's getting close to me again. And that's coming from a place of fear. And we're not healed. That's when we're hardened, not healed. We feel it's better to keep everyone at a distance than risk that chance that someone may get close to us again.
So you want to give us the 5 stages?
Sure. And I'm happy to go through some of the symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome as well.
We've got about maybe 7 minutes of this part of the show, and then we're going to go to part 2. So give me what you can, and we'll leave with a few things people can start to do, and then we'll do part 2.
Sure. Okay. The stages. You want to hear the stages now? Here we go. Okay. So in a very brief way, stage 1 is actually before it happens. And here's where, when you're in what you think is a healthy relationship, you're not scanning for betrayal. You're living your life. You're going to work. So you're not looking for it. And that's why betrayal comes as such a shock. And one of the things that we do when we've been betrayed is we ruminate. And it's really important to look back. And now we want to ruminate. We don't want to marinate. So we need it early on. But when we're doing that forever, that's a problem. But we're doing that because we want to see what we missed. Because if we can figure that out, we could feel a sense of safety that we could protect ourselves from that happening again. Stage 2, shock, trauma, D-Day, discovery day. This is the scariest of all of the stages. And it's the breakdown of the body, the mind, the worldview. Right here, we've ignited the stress response. We're headed for every single stress-related symptom, illness, condition, disease. The mind is in a complete state of chaos and overwhelm. The bottom is bottomed out on us, and a new bottom hasn't been formed yet. But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on us, what would we do? We grab hold of anything or anyone in order to stay safe and stay alive. And that's stage 3, survival instincts emerge. This is the most practical out of all of the stages. Here's the biggest trap, though. This is where most people get stuck. And here's why. Because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma we just came from, we think it's good. And because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we don't know there's a stage 4 or a stage 5, we plant roots here. And we're functioning. We're fine.
I have one quick favor to ask. We're planning the next season of Women's Leadership Success podcast, and I want to make sure we're talking about the challenges that matter most to you. So we've created a short listener survey. It takes about 30 seconds, and your feedback will help shape the future episodes. As a thank you, if you'd like to leave your name and email, it's completely optional. You'll be entered to win a private executive coaching session with me. That's a $600 session, and I'd love to give it to one of our listeners. Just go to womensleadershipsuccess.com/survey. That's womensleadershipsuccess.com/survey, or simply click the link in the show notes. So you had mentioned stage 1, 2, and 3. What's stage 4?
Yeah, so stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. And here's where we acknowledge I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. It is very forward moving. What do I need now? Who am I ready to become? What have I outgrown? What is no longer a part of my life? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? So what we're really doing is we're taking all the parts we love and we're intentionally and deliberately creating a new version of ourselves. There's a saying I've been saying in my 35 years of business, and it holds true. I have yet to find a topic it doesn't hold true for. And it's hard now, easy later. Easy now, hard later. Take your pick. It's one of those two. And
that's beautiful.
It's so simple, but it's so true. And what many people do with betrayal is easy now, hard later. Now, I'm not suggesting easy meaning comfortable and happy at all. Easy now because we're not really changing what we think. We're not changing what we do. And again, I'm not suggesting betrayal is your fault. It's your opportunity. We're not changing our belief system, any of that. Hard later, nothing really changes. We're stuck in stage 3, as opposed to hard now. And I mean, when a thought comes in your head, you say, would the new me that I'm building keep this thought? And if the answer is yes, it comes along. If not, no. Boundaries. Boundaries are really hard. People are going to look at you like, what's that about? It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. And people don't like to do that. So they're like, forget it. No. So hard now, those boundaries, those awkward conversations, standing your ground. Easy later. You're rewriting a new script.
How do you know that you are creating something new as opposed to kind of living the old person that puts up with all kinds of crap?
Yeah. There's this, knowing the stages, you know exactly if you're doing that or not. It's really about, are you settling? Are you accepting? Would you, if you had a child or a loved one, tell you what's going on? And, what would you recommend to them? We see things very clearly through that lens. I'll share a brief story here. There was a woman who wanted to work with me, and she said, Dr. Debi, my husband has been having affairs the 30 years of our marriage. He has no intention of changing. Can you do something to my brain so it doesn't bother me? No, I can't. I'm not your person. But that's what a lot of people do. Again, they make that decision because they decide they don't have the bandwidth to take that on. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work to rebuild yourself in a new, stronger, better, bolder, brighter, more beautiful way. And a lot of people can't even imagine. They know the story that they're hanging on to, but you have to be willing to let go of that story for one you can't yet see. And that's very uncomfortable for people. If I tell you how many new businesses are birthed, new passion projects, new levels of health, new levels of energy, new relationships, either with the person who hurt them in a very different way or with someone entirely new in stage 5, that's what's waiting for you.
So I was going to ask you, how do you tell when you're healed as opposed to just becoming better at coping?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you're fine, you're in stage 3. If you're coping, you're in stage 3. When you're in stage 5, you are living a different life. You're showing up differently. People know it. Your boundaries are very clear. You're attracting a very different level of conversation, caliber of person. You're different. You're different, and everybody around you knows it.
It feels different inside your body, too.
Yeah. There's a personal power, there's a strength, there's a confidence, and I think the reason why it feels so big is because it's so earned.
How come so many successful people mistake functioning for healing?
Yeah, I think because they don't know there's anything more than that. They just assume, okay, well, I got knocked down, let me get back up. And that's the finish line. And I invite everybody to consider that's the starting point. It's a very different space. Yes, you've been knocked down, but you don't want to waste a trauma. You didn't go through all of that just to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let it crack you wide open and build a whole new version of you because of it.
Beautiful. And how does that relate to self-trust?
When you rebuild yourself, one of the aspects you're rebuilding is self-trust as well. You got your own back. You trust yourself. When your intuition tells you something, you've learned now to listen. Mm-hmm. When you say something, you believe it because you've rebuilt everything that was destroyed, and it's intentional. So it's not a haphazard or maybe or random. No, it's intentional.
So we're just about out of time, and let's leave people with hope. So what can they do if they're not going to go to you or read the book? Because there's some basic things that people can do to begin to heal.
Yeah, betrayal hits us on every level, so every level needs to be addressed. So if you're tending to let's say mentally or emotionally, you can't neglect the physical too. You really want to move everything forward at the same pace. So everybody has their own individual recipe, but it's moving you forward physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. Every aspect of that needs to be looked at, dealt with, moved through. And, one of the first steps is if you can imagine that stage 5 version of you, who is she? What would she do? What would she say? Would she do the things that this version of you now is doing and saying? If not, start there.
Also, I think meditating helps.
Oh, definitely.
And just being self-aware, noticing how you're feeling, noticing what you're allowing to happen to yourself. Are you making the decisions or not?
Yeah, it's, meditating is great. Like that's part of, let's say, the spiritual aspect of it. It could be journaling. It could be breathing. It could be nature. So everybody has their own recipe within the physical, the mental, the emotional. But it's important to take a look at all of it because all of it needs to be rebuilt in a way that serves this version of you that you're creating. And when you rebuild this new version of you that you never would have had access to had the experience not happened, that's trauma well served.
Yeah, and anybody can rebuild.
Oh, absolutely.
That happen. I think, everybody needs to know this isn't just for a few. Anybody can change and heal. Anybody. The willingness has so much more to do with any of it than time, than resources, willingness to not just settle for, recovering. No, there's so much more available to you. Before we close, I want to clarify something important about the research discussed in this conversation. An assessment can reveal interesting patterns among the people who choose to complete it, but it should not be confused with a large, controlled scientific study. Claims connecting betrayal with particular physical or psychological symptoms should be discussed with a qualified health professional. That distinction matters because trust is central to today's conversation, and you deserve clarity about the evidence behind the ideas you hear. Now let's turn the conversation into action. If you believe a workplace betrayal has damaged your confidence or career, here are 5 places to begin. First, name what actually happened. Write down the observable behavior without interpreting the other person's motives. What was said? What was done? What promise was broken? What information was withheld or misrepresented? Facts help you regain your footing. Second, stop allowing one person to become the sole authority on your value. Ask 2 or 3 credible people for specific feedback. What do you see as my strongest contribution? Where could I become more effective? How is my work perceived outside my immediate team? You're not looking for reassurance. You are rebuilding an accurate picture of yourself. Third, document patterns that affect your position or reputation. Record dates, decisions, messages, witnesses, and business consequences. If you eventually need to involve a senior leader, human resources, or legal counsel, clear documentation is far more useful than a general account of feeling mistreated. 4. Rebuild self-trust through one small commitment at a time. Choose one action you can control. Initiating a different conversation, asking for feedback, speaking once in an important meeting, or contacting a trusted advisor. Make a commitment and keep it. Self-trust is not restored by telling yourself to be more confident. It grows when you see evidence that you can rely on yourself again. Finally, decide what protection and support you need. That could mean establishing a boundary, correcting misinformation, or requesting clear performance criteria. Notice what is happening in your body and in your emotions. If you're experiencing physical symptoms, speak with your doctor. If the betrayal is causing ongoing anxiety, depression, sleep problems, or other emotional distress, consult a qualified mental health professional. And a skilled coach can help you think through workplace decisions, boundaries, and your next career steps. Healing does not require pretending the betrayal was acceptable, and it does not always require staying in the relationship or the organization. The leadership lesson is this: a betrayal may temporarily distort how you see yourself, but another person's behavior does not get to become the final authority on your competence, your character, or your future. Ask yourself, what is one decision I would make differently this week if I trusted my own judgment again? If this episode helped you put words to an experience you've been carrying, please share it with one leader who may need to hear it. Bye for now. Before you go, may I ask for one small favor? If this episode helped you think differently, lead differently, or feel a little less alone, hit subscribe. And if you're willing, leave a rating or a review, not because it helps me, because it helps the next woman find this conversation when she needs it the most. Now let me say something directly to you. If you've been given more responsibility, if you're leading bigger conversations, if you're sitting in rooms that stretch you, and part of you is wondering whether you're ready for what's next, you're not alone. Most leaders feel that way, they just don't talk about it. That's exactly why I created the Leading Before You're Ready playbook. It's a free resource designed to help you build the confidence, visibility, influence, and executive presence needed for your next level of leadership. Not after you feel ready, while you're becoming ready. You'll find the link in the show notes, and thank you. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining your host, Sabrina Braham, on another Women's Leadership Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email her at sabrina@sabrinabraham.com. Since 1989, Sabrina and her team have helped hundreds of women managers, business leaders, and entrepreneurs with valuable trainings, articles, books, and executive coaching. For additional tips, interviews, and free access to Great Leaders Today mini course, visit www.womensleadershipsuccess.com.